We'll get our acceleration here. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over the all-new BMW X4. Before we get in this video though, a huge shout out and thank you to the BMW of Pleasant Grove, Utah for working me some time with this X4. I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. If you have any questions or need any help, just ask for Brendan. And if you don't know, the BMW of Pleasant Grove does not charge any sort of markups over MSRP, so if you want a great deal on a BMW, reach out to Brendan. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. So under the hood, we have a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 21 around town and then 28 on the highway, with power outputs being 248 horsepower and then 258 pound-feet of torque, which gives us a 0 to 60 time of only 6.2 seconds. Now before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Now with the hood, you guys can see we've got some sharp lines there on either side, and then you got the BMW logo in the center. And popping down below, notice that, well, the grille's all blacked out. You've got these crazy LED daytime running lights with the headlights, and then notice on either side also blacked out. I think it looks pretty cool. Yeah, with this gray, the contrast is just fantastic. Tire and wheel setup is 245, 50, 19 in the front and in the rear. And then you guys can see we've got the machine finish on the top of the wheel, which I think looks really cool. It's blacked out down below as well. Pretty neat looking fender flares here, and then you guys can see the blacked out accent piece. And then look at the mirror, you've got the blacked out portion at the bottom, and then notice how the trim is also blacked out around the windows. And then taking a look at the side view, this is where you can see the X4 has that cool coupe design. The X4 is basically just an X3 with a coupe design. Now here's our key fob. We have our unlock function, our lock function, the opening here for the hatch, and then the M colors here on the side, and bada bing, bada boom. So popping inside here, you guys can see we've got a decent amount of storage space in the trunk area. Notice we have a cargo cover built in from the factory. And you know, what I will say is this isn't as impractical as what I expected with the coupe design, but you do lose a little bit of vertical room. And then when you're all done, just press that and it'll lower it all back down. Now taking a look at the taillights here with the X4, definitely an interesting design, way different than the X3 taillights. And then you can see the rest of the badges on this particular one. And then look at the parking sensors at the bottom, and then the exhaust tip covers as well. And putting it all together, I'm more of an SUV fan myself. I've been pretty vocal about this, but you know, if you like the coupe design, it's got the coupe design. Now with the door panel in the rear, you guys can see really nice padding all over, and then look at like the trim that goes across at the top and the metallic trim down below, and then even with the window control, it looks nice. And then look at the stitching here with the headrest, and then notice perforated in the center portion of the seat, and then you can see this for the seat to kind of throw that forward. Legroom here in the back of the X4 is pretty solid. We've got a little storage net here, and then you can see we've got some vents, got our little climate control section, and then some USBs down below that. And then headroom back here is not as good as the regular not regular X3, but the X3. I don't know why I said regular. Anyways, we of course have the famous cup holder armrest. Now with the front door panel, you guys can see again with all of the padding, looks fantastic, and look at the trim here at the top. And then we have our memory seat function here, and then look at all the window controls. We do have our adjustment for the mirror. The mirror does also power fold in, and it's got blind spot monitoring. Really nice stitching here at the front seat, and then notice perforated all down the center portion of the seat. And then you guys can see we've got our adjustments here on the side, and M logo. Pedals down below, which definitely have a nice look. And then you guys can see here we've got our little light control right there, and then the steering wheel is manually adjustable. Taking a look at the steering wheel, really nice material use all around. You can see the stitching down the center is dark to match. You got the M logo here, heated steering wheel button on the steering wheel, paddle shifters for the 8-speed automatic there on the very back, and then you got like your phone controls, voice command controls as well, and then look at the stitching around the airbag cover. And then this does come with the adaptive cruise control as well. And then we got our turn signal stock, and then our windshield wiper stock. Now we've got this cool full digital gauge cluster here, just like other modern BMWs. Now the cool party trick with it is when you pop into the Eco Pro mode, changes how the gauge cluster looks, and then comfort mode changes it yet again. And then when you put it into the sport mode, it changes it again. And by the way, with those drive modes, notice we have modes within modes. So we have an individual, standard, and a plus for the sport mode, for example. Comfort just has comfort. And then you have an Eco Pro that has the standard and then the individual. Now we've got trajectory lines here with the backup camera. They do turn with the steering wheel, and resolution with the camera system solid. Notice for the parking sensors there, which is also nice. As for the rest of the infotainment system, we have a shortcut bar here on the side. You can see overall response time is solid with that. And with this infotainment system, it isn't BMW's newest unit, but, you know, I'd say no complaints. And it has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. I mean, what more could you ask for? Like this trim here across the dash, and then look at that for the safety tech, and then your hazard lights. And then notice we've got this for our dual zone climate controls. You also have heated seats here for the front, and then notice with the little radio control down below, and then for the radio presets. Now I've got this little cover here for wireless phone charging pad, and then the cup holders, and notice it says X4 right there. And then we have this dial that controls the infotainment system analogly. So if you don't use the touchscreen functionality, you can use the dial. And that, is that even a word? Analogly. Well, it is now. Anyways, you got the shortcut buttons, and then shifter for the 8-speed automatic. And then you've got the stability control there. Notice for the parking sensors, your auto stop start, and then your engine stop start itself, all the drive modes, hill descent control, your auto hold, and then your parking brake. And then here's the center console itself. Decent storage space with some USB action and some nice padding here on the top. And then with the glove box, nicely lined with felt. And then up top here, you guys can see you've got a control for the sunroof setup, and it's a panoramic, which is cool. So here's our window sticker for this X4. You guys can see $53,400 base MSRP. And then here is the standard equipment. It's kind of hard to see, but anyways, warranty 4-year, 50,000 mile. And then after all options, this one's stickers for $60,690. And let's see how the X4 drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility of the hood. Both the mirrors just do a blind spot monitoring, and then throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So setting off in the X4. Now I actually am driving this back to back with an X3 M40i. And so I'll be able to tell you the difference between the 30i and the 40i from a driving perspective. Because again, the biggest difference between an X3 and an X4 is coupe versus SUV. But the driving dynamics should be pretty much identical. What I'm noticing first off with the suspension is it feels pretty similar. This is slightly less stiff than the M40i. Yeah, definitely a little bit less stiff than that. Yeah, and the steering doesn't seem as like aggressive either. It doesn't seem as tight. Pop into the Eco Pro mode and see how that feels with this powertrain. Yeah, pretty good. I mean, it pulls back on the throttle quite a bit. So that's definitely something to consider. I'll pop it back into the comfort mode, just for your comfortable driving, of course. Maybe I need to start reviewing RVs. I've driven by this RV lot so many times. I'm like, eh, maybe that should be a thing. Yeah, in the comfort mode, you can definitely feel a little bit more. This definitely doesn't have nearly as much torque. You can feel it right off the bat as the M40i. It just doesn't have the same push right out of the gate. Yeah, suspension it's about the same. So you don't really get any suspension benefits by going to this. I thought it might be a little bit more comfortable overall, but it's pretty similar. It's just not as firm, which doesn't necessarily lead to comfort. It just means that this feels a little bit looser with the handling. So we'll get our acceleration here. Okay, yeah, that's a big difference. So that's I'm gonna pop back in comfort mode. That's X3 M40i. I mean, that thing was like a rocket ship. This is not slow. It gets up and moves. It's just not on the same level. It's not nearly on the same level. So let's kind of sum things up here for the X4. So first off, again, this is just my personal opinion. I think the X3 looks better because I prefer SUV styling over, you know, coupe SUV styling. I'm just never been a fan of the coupe SUV format. I know some people love it, And if you love it, you love it. If you don't, then your name's Ben Hardy. That's basically how it works. But other than that, the interior's really nice. You don't lose a lot of practicality with this. I mean, the biggest downside that I see is, again, a little bit less vertical space back there for headroom, and then also for, you know, storage space in the back as well. Drives just like an X3. But again, I think that M40i is the sweet spot for this, because this powertrain's fine, but like, I got spoiled, I guess, because driving them back to back, it's like I want the extra power that the M40i provides, because that inline six just sounds so good, and it's got so much torque, and it's just such a good driving experience. So let me know which one you guys prefer. Do you prefer X3 or do you prefer X4 with the styling? And then, yeah, that's just my opinion. I would spend the extra money and get the M40i. And it just doesn't handle as well. It's a little bit looser with the handling. That's gonna sum things up with our video on this X4. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the BMW of Pleasant Grove, Utah for giving me some time with this X4. Check out the info in the description down below. Ask for Brendan. I'll see ya.